Hello, it's Scott here. It's only the second time I've done one of these sort of off the cuff things, rather than being sort of organised. And you can always tell because I've never done this. I don't do the settings properly. Let me just turn the screen down a bit so my eyes aren't quite so bright. Hello. I called this a Bowmore moment, and that's after a friend of mine who used to enjoy it when I used to have a drink of a glass of Bowmore whiskey at night and write some notes and publish them. Not doing that tonight. I've got this. Now, this is in honour of Fish from Marillion, who has his Fish on Friday, and he always has an Erdinger alcohol-free beer. So, cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. Do you know that's actually pretty damn good? Oh, it's quite sweet. It's like a wheat beer type stuff. You can see it's a wee bit cloudy. See that? Bit of a wheat beer. So, anyway, I've come on tonight because I've got a few things that have happened this week that has made it quite a different week, not an easy week. And of course, there's things going on all over the world as well, which means that it's quite. It's been a. I think the best way to describe it is a chaotic week in a number of ways. But all started on Monday night when I do my weekly broadcast called Artifact, and it's about storytelling. Oh, incidentally, if you want to chat with me, good luck. I've only got one PC working just now, so if it doesn't come through, I think Facebook works and I think YouTube works, but I don't think LinkedIn works on the single PC. So sorry, but I can't really run the two at the same time because you then get interference. So yeah, so Monday night, I ran my Artifact thing, and just before it, I did an interview with my friend Ian Burgess. Now I've known Ian for we reckoned about 15 years. We worked it out on Monday, and we had a good chat. And Ian's an interesting fella. If you're watching, Ian, thank you very much. Because I met him a long time ago, as I said, but he's a very clever fella. But he lives the sort of cognitive diversity thing. He's had quite a colourful life. You could explain that, Ian. But he's in politics. He's an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, really quite a serious entrepreneur. And he's also really interested in studies Tai Chi to quite a deep level. So interesting chat. And that was great. But then I did my live broadcast and we had a gremlin. And it's awful because it's one of these nights I'd prepared quite carefully. I had some special music to celebrate Sean Connery. And it all failed. And we got I think I recorded 40 minutes and I got about 22 minutes of actual, a show that I could actually broadcast afterwards. So very disappointing. Guys, if you were there, I really appreciate you. There's no need for you to hang around and watch me like an idiot try to sort this problem. But I'll show you what the problem was. It was this. Now, this thing here is a hub, a little USB hub. And this thing is faulty. So I tested everything and turned out that for some reason this is faulty. It's not old. I only got it about 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago. So that is for the Highland Road. It's off. I'm sorry about that, but that got things off to a sugary start. And then of course we had the American almost election, which I was quite excited about at one point. I've kind of lost my enthusiasm. I know I should still be enthusiastic about it because it is important, but yeah, what a shambles. Anyway, that's probably something I'll talk about in one of my videos one of these days because it was awful, and it still is awful and embarrassing for everybody concerned. Then I had a weird experience. I was moderating a panel on a virtual event yesterday. It was Carol Spears's ISMA, which is the sort of stress and mental health type conference. Fantastic, really good job. She's done an amazing job, and there was 60 odd speakers. Can you imagine trying to corral 62 speakers over 5 days? What a job. Anyway, I really enjoyed doing the moderation. I don't do that really, but I actually quite enjoyed it. Nice people. I knew most of the people who were on the panel. That was quite good. But then today it was quite odd because today at one point I was doing a keynote for ISMA. I was doing a lunch and learn for me. I do this thing every Friday at 1 o'clock. I just put out some of my material. And it was all happening at the same time as I was making a new film that I'm going to release tonight or tomorrow. And it just made me think about, how things are changing so much at the moment that, It's quite astonishing. I was in 3 places at once. So that was quite interesting. And I was listening to a very esteemed scientist today from the States who's written a lot about how disease spreads and how we cope with it and live with it. And his prediction is that we'll probably get a vaccine for COVID, maybe into the first quarter, maybe early second quarter of next year, but that'll only go to industrial scale at the end of this time next year across the world. And his perspective is that there could be another 2 years after that before we got back to shaking hands and going to gigs. That's 2024. So I was like, Jesus. So that depressed me a wee bit. But nevertheless, it gave me another kick. And there's a couple of things I'd like to tell you about that tonight that I'm starting to do because, I can't wait on the market picking up. I mean, I haven't been, as you know, I've been doing all these broadcasts and things, but I think I'm going to have to do something else. So what am I going to be doing? Well, one of the things, it's actually dead obvious. Because I'm doing a lot of this broadcasting malarkey and I'm getting quite comfortable with it unless the technology fails. But because of that, I thought, well, what else can I do? Well, some of you will know that my friend Andy and I'll come back to Andy in a minute, have been involved in a website and a book and a documentary and various radio shows, etc., over the years that celebrate an old venue in Scotland called the Glasgow Apollo. And we've got a Facebook group. If you're in there, guys, watching, hi. And there's 8,000 people in that Facebook group. Now, I know a lot of people who would kill for 800 people in their Facebook group. We've got 8,000. So I thought, look, it's time we probably did something with that to celebrate it, keep me busy, and give something to people to help them cope with what's happening at the moment. So Andy and I have decided we're going to launch a weekly live show about the Glasgow Apollo. Now I know that's very specific, very niche, but if you like music and you like hearing stories and exploring different types of music and everything else, I think you might quite enjoy it. Now I've done a little zinger here. I'll show you. It's only a few seconds long, but this is not going to be what it's called, and it's not going to be how it looks either. But this is the sort of thing that we're starting to think about. So here's this little thing I just knocked together in the last hour or so. Not sure about that music. It sounds like a sort of bad version of a ZZ Top crossed with Dire Straits songs. Awful. But anyway, so I think we'll probably call it something like I Was There, or I Was Framed, or these are all phrases that are famous in Glasgow for that particular venue. So watch out for that. Probably launching it next Thursday at 9 o'clock in the evening. Maybe the following week, just need to get my acting gear, but that's another thing I'm going to be doing. So it might not be relevant for everybody in terms of the reason it's based in Glasgow. But if you like music, particularly music from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, I think you'd probably quite enjoy it. We'll have a right old laugh, and it won't be formal, as you can imagine. So other stuff that happened. Well, I'm doing a piece just now about what I do, really. And I was trying to come up with a way of giving you an interesting metaphor for it. And as you know, it is quite good. But as you know, I quite like my artifacts and my metaphors and my art and all the rest of it. And I was trying to think of something that came from my background that I could use. And then once again, the poet David Whyte came into my head. And I remember sitting with him at a fire at an event in the Cotswolds, and he was drinking a glass of red wine, and I think I was drinking a glass of red wine as well. And he said to me, there was a fire, and it was really cool. It was really nice. And he said to me, Scott, what's your single malt essence? And I was like, oh gosh. And I've seen he's written about that before in other places as well. So he's obviously, it's one of his lines. But I thought, yeah, maybe I'll do something about essence. So I tried it out when I was moderating the other day and it worked. You know, people could get into a conversation when I asked them, what's your single essence? So I'm going to do a piece on it, but some of you might know or might not know, I used to live in Elgin, which is one of the hubs of whiskey in Scotland. And my dad and large part of my family are from Campbelltown, which is another place that used to be and is re-emerging as one of the centres for whiskey production in Scotland. And whilst I was working in Elgin a few years ago, one of the board members that I got to know quite well was a guy called Malcolm Greenwood. Now, Malcolm's sadly no longer with us, but Malcolm was the marketing director for Glenfarclas. And if you've never heard of Glenfarclas or tried Glenfarclas whiskey, guys, whoa, it's amazing. And I was remembering Malcolm and all his stories, and I'm going to resurrect some of those experiences I had with Malcolm in that video. If you've never heard you wouldn't have heard of Malcolm. He's not well known down here in England, certainly. But this is he did a book. This is a ramble around the globe. He was trying to follow famous Tommy Dewar. You probably heard Dewar's whiskey. He did another book called, I think it was 18 Nips Around the World or whatever. It was terrific. So I'm bringing all these things from my life back together, which is quite groovy, and I'm quite looking forward to doing it. I'm trying to distill, pun intended, you know, what am I all about in terms of my essence. And today I live near the Cotswold brewery that makes Cotswold whiskey, and I went along there to take some video today. Closed, of course, thanks COVID-19, so that didn't work. But anyway, I'm thinking about it. I'm going to try and storyboard it the next couple of days, get into it next week. So hopefully this time next week I might come back and have a Bowmore moment with an actual Bowmore and show you the video. So that's something else I'm going to be doing, so I'm quite looking forward to that. Almost finally, I was delighted today to receive this, which is a publication that I am featured in, which is about effective collaboration by the Business and Management faculty of ICAEW. So I'm delighted about that. Thank you very much. It's always good to be publishing stuff. And the final thing is my friend Andy. Hello, Andy, if you're watching. I suspect you probably will be watching at some point. He's got to Sydney finally. I said in the last Bowmore moment I was getting a bit sick of it. Not as sick as him. He's there, and he's now out of quarantine, 2 weeks in quarantine, and he's now let loose on Sydney. So that's going to be interesting. Look out, Sydney. So congratulations, Andy. So thanks, guys. That's all I've got to say, really. It's been a weird week. I don't think it's going to get any better. I think it's going to be a weird few days across the world. But thanks again, though, for your support. Things are really changing, but it's been an exciting few days, and I do appreciate you. Thanks ever so much. I'll see you on Monday, Artifact Live, with the magnificent Michelle Mills Porter, who'll be telling us about how story can really demonstrate how wonderful human beings can be. So come on, who wouldn't want to be part of that? Thanks very much, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.